Okay, so we are going to make this beach scene in Blender. It's going to take us a few tutorials. The first one will be shading the water, the second one will be shading the sand, and the last one will be animating the beach. So, let us get started with the water. But again, before we begin, I just want to say thank you to everyone on the Golden Spoon tier list. You guys are always appreciated, and if you have any requests, you could always mention them on the Discord. But now let's actually get started. The scene here is pretty basic. We have our sun here. The sun is just a sphere without any texture, but then there's an area light facing towards it that's set pretty high, around 300. So it's overexposed, but when you go into the camera view, it looks like a sun. And the clouds are just the clouds I showed how to make in the cloud tutorial on my YouTube channel. So if you don't know how to make clouds, you can just watch that tutorial. And that's pretty much it for the scene. So you just want to make sure that your plane is pretty subdivided. So there are many faces for me to displace with a modifier. So after subdividing your plane a bunch, you can go to the modifiers tab and add a displace modifier. Then change the displace modifier at 0.020 or something similar. Then we can add a texture, and that is going to be a marble texture. And then we just need to edit a few things. So we can edit the second basis to be tri and make the pattern sharper. And then we can just play with the turbulence and all these other settings until you find something that you like. After adding this modifier, you can go into the editing tab and then select the parts that you want to make sand. Because what we are going to do is we are going to add a vertex group and then remove whatever faces you selected from this group, and then you can go to the select tab on top and then press invert, so that it inverts your selection, and press assign on the vertex group. So now when we go to the modifier tab and assign this group to the modifier, it just displaces the sea. And if you want to, you can add a subdivision surface modifier to make it just a little bit softer. And now we can actually shade the sea. So for the sea texture, we do not need a lot of nodes, we just need to work it efficiently. So make a new texture, name it whatever you want, and then bring in a mix color. Then you can bring in an image texture. This image, I'm going to link it below in the description. You can UV unwrap your plane, but I have done that for mine already. So all you need to do now is press Ctrl T, and then you can edit it to whatever you like. I'm going to leave it as is. Later on in the final tutorial, we are going to animate it through this mapping node. Okay, so now we can duplicate this mix color to two different nodes. One is going to be for this light blue color, and the other one will be for the dark blue color. So plug that into the mix colors and change the colors to whatever color you'd like, but I just made one the light blue and the other the dark blue. Then after, you can plug the mix color of the light blue on top and the mix color of the dark blue at the bottom of this original mix color, because we are going to separate the two with a gradient node. So after making the basic gradient node 3, we are going to select the gradient type and make it quadratic sphere. This is so that the light blue can be here in front of the camera, and then everything else can be surrounded by the dark blue. And make sure your texture coordinate node is set to object, because then the sphere will appear in the middle of the plane. Otherwise it'll give you some troubles. And now we have the basic color. As you can view from the BSDF, if you rise up the roughness it stays nice and bright, but if you lower the roughness, it becomes quite dark. So if you want to keep the roughness low, what you could do is bring in another mix color in front of the BSDF after bringing in a shader to RGB, and then setting that to add or color dodge, and plugging the original node 3 into the bottom socket. And then you can just play with the factor. And you could also bring a hue and saturation node in front of the C node 3 and bring up the saturation a bit to add more blue color, as well as bringing up the value. But I'm going to leave the saturation quite low to maybe 1 or 1.1 because I'm going to edit the colors and stuff like that after rendering the image and the animation itself. So we made our water texture in this tutorial, and the next one we are going to make the sand texture and the waves in between the sea and the sand. But before we conclude this tutorial, I just want to give a shout out to the Confimog channel, and I hope you guys can support him and learn from his wonderful videos. That is it for today for me. See you in the next one. Alright, bye.